My name is Sarah Calloway. I am 35 years old. And last Thanksgiving, my mother stood at the head of a dining room table with 9 people sitting around it, reached into a basket, and handed a wrapped gift to every single grandchild except mine. My daughter Maya, 9 years old, watched her cousin tear open a box with both hands. My son Ethan, 6, looked at the empty spot in front of him, then looked at me, then looked back at the spot, as if the gift might appear if he waited long enough. My cousin's son Jake, 13, caught Ethan staring and said, loud enough for the table to hear, "Maybe Santa skipped the broke ones." Nobody laughed. Nobody corrected him either. I did not raise my voice. I did not cry. I set my fork down very slowly, pushed my chair back, and looked at my children.
"Coates," I said.
"We're going home." My mother called my name once. Just once. I did not turn around. In the car, I sent one text to my parents. 4 words. "Consider this your notice." I did not know exactly what that meant yet, but they would find out. And what I built in the 8 months that followed would cost them something they never expected to lose. Welcome back to Steady Ground Stories, the channel where ordinary people stop shrinking, start building, and discover that the best revenge is a life your family has to watch from a distance. If you have ever sat at a table that had no room for you even though you brought the food, this one is for you. Drop a comment below and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. Now let me tell you how we got here, that I grew up in Clover Ridge, Indiana. Population around 14,000. The kind of town where your mother's reputation precedes you at the grocery store and your father's handshake is his credit score. My father, Dennis, spent 27 years as a floor supervisor at the Hendricks County Grain Cooperative. My mother, Patricia, taught Sunday school at Calvary Baptist for 19 years and organized the Neighborhood Beautification Committee with the seriousness of someone running a small country. My older sister, Jennifer, married well. Her husband, Robert Ashby, is a financial advisor with his own firm on the east side of Indianapolis. They have 3 children, Chloe, 15, Brandon, 12, and Jake, 13, the one who made the comment at the table. They live in a 4-bedroom colonial with a finished basement and a landscaping service that comes on Thursdays. I took a different road. I studied graphic design at Indiana State, graduated with honors, got a junior position at a marketing firm in Indianapolis. Met Daniel at 26. He was funny and charming and, as I would discover over the next 4 years, constitutionally incapable of telling the truth about money. By the time I understood the shape of our marriage, the credit cards in my name he had maxed without telling me, the savings account he had quietly drained for a business investment that never existed, I had 2 children under 4 and a negative balance in an account I thought had $11,000 in it. I filed for divorce at 31. I moved back to Clover Ridge because it was the only place I could afford. Rented a 2-bedroom duplex on Sycamore Lane, 7 minutes from my parents' house. Started over with a laptop and a second-hand Etsy account. The business was called Calloway and Wick. Hand-poured soy candles. Every scent developed in my kitchen after the kids were asleep. Lavender and cedar, vanilla and smoked oak, citrus and clove. I had studied fragrance blending on YouTube for 6 months before I invested a single dollar in materials. I registered the business name with the state in March of 2023. By summer, I had 34 regular customers and a growing mailing list. My parents never fully forgave me for the divorce. Not because they liked Daniel. They barely tolerated him. What they could not forgive was the inconvenience of it. A divorced daughter required explanations at church. A divorced daughter with 2 children and a candle business required more explanations. My sister Jennifer, married and settled and predictable, required none. The pattern started quietly. Jennifer's kids got birthday parties at my parents' house, catered trays from the deli, balloon arches, gift tables stacked with wrapped boxes. Chloe's 15th birthday cost my parents close to $600 in decorations and food alone. I know because my mother mentioned the total with satisfaction at Sunday dinner, the way people mention a score they're proud of. Maya turned 9 that same month. My mother mailed a card. Inside was a $15 Barnes & Noble gift card and a note that said, "Hope your day is special, sweetheart." It arrived 2 days after Maya's birthday. Maya held the envelope for a long time before she opened it. She already knew what was in it before she looked. I brought it up once. Calmly, over coffee at my parents' kitchen table on a Wednesday morning while the kids were at school. Mom, the birthday thing. Maya notices. Ethan is starting to notice too. My mother stirred her coffee with the slow patience of someone who has already decided the conversation is over. Sarah, Jennifer has 3 children and Robert works 60 hours a week. She needs more support than you do. You have always been the self-sufficient one. Take it as a compliment. A compliment. That is what she called it. I did not argue. I had learned, over 3 years of post-divorce holidays, that arguing with my mother was like pushing a wall. The wall never moved. It just left bruises on your hands. So, I reduced our visits. Monthly became holidays only. Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter. Just enough for my children to believe their grandparents remembered their birthdays. Just enough to preserve the idea of family that Maya still believed in, and Ethan was just beginning to form. Thanksgiving morning. 6:18. The kitchen smelled like cinnamon and melted butter. Ethan sat on the counter in his dinosaur socks eating cereal dry because he had already rejected 3 other breakfast options. Maya was at the table writing a card for my mother in her careful, deliberate 4th-grade cursive. She had made it the night before with watercolors, a harvest wreath with orange and gold leaves, and inside, a message she had worked on for 40 minutes. Dear Grandma, I am thankful for you. Love, Maya, age 9. I was finishing the centerpiece I had made for my mother's table. A hand-poured candle in a hammered copper vessel, lavender and cedar, her favorite scent combination. I knew because she had mentioned it twice at Jennifer's house last Easter. I had been making it since October, testing the pour temperature, the wick size, the cold throw versus hot throw. It was the best candle I had ever made. I wrapped it in craft paper and tied it with a piece of linen twine. We drove the 7 minutes to my parents' house. I turned onto Whitmore Circle and saw Jennifer's silver Suburban already parked in the driveway. Robert's black Audi sat behind it. All the lights in the house were on. Through the front window, I could see people moving and hear, faintly, a football game on television. Inside, the dining room table was set for 11. My mother's good china, the cream set with the gold rim she used only at Thanksgiving and Christmas. Name cards in her handwriting, the looping cursive she was proud of. And at 3 seats along the right side of the table, Chloe's, Brandon's, and Jake's, small wrapped packages tied with gold ribbon, A.T. Maya's seat, her name card, and an empty placemat, A.T. Ethan's, the same. I stood very still for 3 seconds. Then I set the candle on the kitchen counter next to the casserole dishes and told myself, maybe they're handing things out after dinner. Maybe this is a decor thing, not a gift thing. Maybe I am misreading it. I told myself several things in the next 2 hours. Most of them were wrong. My father Dennis shook my hand in the hallway. An actual handshake, firm and brief, like I was a contractor he was meeting for an estimate. My mother smiled from across the kitchen and said, Sarah, you look tired. Not hello. Not I'm glad you're here. Dinner was my mother's production. She narrated it like a documentary about her own generosity. Jennifer's new kitchen renovation. Marble countertops, $14,000, ordered from a showroom in Carmel. Robert's firm expanding into a 3rd office. Brandon making the honor roll. Chloe's acceptance into the selective arts program at her high school. I mentioned, during a brief pause between the gravy and the green beans, that Callaway and Wick had been invited to participate in the Clover Ridge Winter Market in December. My first official public booth. I had been working toward it since August. My mother passed the rolls to Robert before I finished the sentence. Jennifer smiled across the table with the specific smile she uses when she is being careful. Are candles really sustainable as a business, Sarah? I just wonder about the market saturation. Have you thought about going back to graphic design? Benefits, stability, you know. I looked at my plate. Ethan was eating mashed potatoes with his fingers. I let it go. Maya sat beside Ethan, quiet. She kept glancing at the gold ribbon packages at the cousins' seats. Her card for my mother was still in her jacket pocket. She had not given it yet. She was waiting for the right moment. She never found one after the main course, before dessert. My mother stood up. She pressed her palms together with the satisfied energy of someone about to deliver very good news. She said that before Pi, she and Dennis had something they wanted to share. A little recognition, she said. For the grandchildren who had made them especially proud this year. She went to Chloe first. A cashmere sweater, deep burgundy, $85. I would look it up later. Chloe squealed and stood up to hug her grandmother. Brandon next. An electric skateboard. Not a toy one. A real one with a remote control and a top speed of 12 miles per hour. Robert looked pleased. Jennifer beamed.
Jake.
A gaming headset, wireless, noise-canceling. He pulled it out and put it on immediately without saying thank you. Then my mother sat back down, smoothed her blouse, and picked up her wine glass. That was it. Ethan looked at me. He was 6. He still believed that the world was basically fair and that if you waited patiently enough, things would work out. He leaned close and whispered, "Mama, where is ours?" I opened my mouth. No words came. Maya did not ask. She already understood. She reached into her jacket pocket and touched the card she had made. Her fingers found the edge of it. Then she pushed it back down. She was not going to give it to my mother anymore. Jake adjusted his headset and looked down the table at my children. He said, "Maybe Santa skipped the broke ones." The table went quiet. Jennifer examined her wine glass. Robert looked at the football game on the television in the other room. My father studied his plate. My mother sipped and said nothing. And my 6-year-old son's face moved through confusion, through uncertainty, and into something I recognized, the specific understanding of a child who has just learned that the adults in the room are not going to protect him. I looked at Maya. Her hands were flat in her lap. She holds them that way when she is trying very hard not to cry. I stood up. Slowly. Quietly. "Coates, we're going home." My mother said my name.
Once.
Sarah. I walked to the kitchen counter, picked up the copper candle I had made for her. The one she never touched, never moved, never acknowledged, and tucked it under my arm. My father half rose from his chair. "Sarah, it is Thanksgiving." I looked at him. "Not for us, Dad." Maya took Ethan's hand and walked toward the front door without looking back. She still had the card in her pocket. Nobody followed us. I buckled Ethan into his car seat. He fell asleep before we reached the end of Whitmore Circle. Maya sat on the other side, hands in her lap, staring out the window. She did not speak until I pulled into our driveway on Sycamore Lane.
"Mama.
Does Grandma not like us?" I turned off the engine. The clock said 7:02. "Grandma is confused right now, baby. That is not yours to carry." Inside, I put Ethan on the couch with his blanket. Maya went to her room. I stood in the kitchen for a long time, looking at the copper candle I had brought home. I set it on the windowsill above the sink, lit it, and watched it burn. Then I picked up my phone and typed 4 words to the family group chat. "Consider this your notice." Within 45 seconds, my phone was ringing.
"Mom. Dad."
"Jennifer." "Mom again." I set it face down on the counter. I made tea. I sat at the kitchen table with Maya's watercolor card. She had left it on the counter when she went to bed, and I read it 3 times. "Dear Grandma, I am thankful for you. Love, Maya, age 9. I put the card in the drawer next to the stove. I did not know what I was going to do yet, but I knew 2 things. I was done performing, and the candle on the windowsill smelled like something worth protecting. The next morning, 41 unread messages. My mother had written 4 paragraphs. Formatted, punctuated, deliberate, as if she had drafted it somewhere else first and then pasted it in. Her explanation: the gifts were merit-based. Chloe had made the honor roll. Brandon had completed a community service certification. Jake had placed 2nd in a regional gaming competition. The gifts were meant to inspire, she wrote, to show the children that achievement is recognized and rewarded. Ethan is 6. His greatest academic accomplishment this year was learning to tie his own shoes. My father sent a private message. "Your mother didn't mean it the way it came across. Come for Christmas. We can work this out." Jennifer texted, "If your kids were in more structured activities, they would have had something to show for it too.
Don't make this about you."
I read every message twice. I screenshotted every one. I did not respond to any of them. That afternoon, I called Miriam Okafor. Miriam owns the soap and bath good shop on Main Street in Clover Ridge. She is 54, originally from Lagos, Now the kind of woman who occupies any room she walks into without apologizing for it. She has been my closest friend since I moved back to town. She buys 24 candles from me every Friday for her shop counter. I told her everything. The gifts. The headset. Jake's comment. The walkout. The copper candle nobody touched. Miriam was quiet for exactly 4 seconds. Then she said, "Sarah, that was not a holiday dinner. That was a curriculum. They were teaching your children what they are worth. And you walked out before the lesson finished." I exhaled for the first time in 18 hours. Save everything, Miriam said. Every message, every screenshot, every text. You do not know yet what you are building, but you will need the materials. I saved everything. December came cold and deliberate. No calls from my parents. No visits from my father. The group chat sat dormant at the top of my messages like a room with the lights off. I threw myself into Callaway and Wick. Holiday orders tripled from the previous year. Word had spread from a craft fair I did in November, my first public event. I filled 58 orders in 3 weeks, pine and bergamot, cranberry and clove, the copper vessel lavender set that had started as a gift for my mother and was now selling out every Saturday. I applied for the Clover Ridge Winter Market booth. 2-page application, 2 references. Miriam wrote 1. My former graphic design professor, who had followed my business from the beginning, wrote the other. The market was 3 weeks away. 2 weeks before the market, Miriam texted me at 9 in the evening. 1 word. Call me. I called. Her voice was tight. She said, Jennifer launched a candle business. The account was called Ashby and Flame. Launched 6 days earlier. Hand-poured soy candles. Lavender and cedar. Vanilla and smoked oak. Citrus and clove. Every scent from my line, photographed on marble countertops in Jennifer's newly renovated kitchen, styled with linen napkins and ceramic trays and professional product lighting. The bio said, small batch, handcrafted candles made with love and old-fashioned care. Jennifer had me blocked. Miriam was forwarding me what she could see. I checked the state business registration database. No listing for Ashby and Flame. No cottage industry exemption filing. No sales tax permit. But what made my hands go still was the last post. A photo of the lavender and cedar candle in a hammered copper vessel, my vessel design, my scent combination, my pour technique, with a caption that read, a recipe passed down through the women in our family. Below it, my mother had commented, so proud of my girl. Some things are worth investing in. She had said something nearly identical to me 8 months earlier, when I asked if she would share my business flyer with her church group. She had said, Sarah, I can only invest energy where I see a real future. Now I understood what she meant by investment. If you are still here, drop a comment and tell me if you have ever discovered that someone you loved was not competing with you. They were dismantling you. Subscribe, because what happens at that winter market is where everything turns.
January.
I called a small business attorney in the next county. Her name was Claire Donovan. Office above an insurance agency on Route 7. Initial consultation free for 30 minutes. I brought a folder. Not a thin one. Claire looked through it with the calm efficiency of someone who reads bad news for a living. Callaway and Wick State Registration, March 2023. 89 order receipts, each time-stamped. 34 Instagram posts across 20 months showing original product development and scent names. My fragrance development notebook, handwritten, dated, with notes from a certified aromatherapist I had consulted during the formulation process. Customer emails. The market application with its reference letters. She set the folder down. She looked at me. How long has Ashby and Flame been operating? 6 weeks. Does your sister have any formal training in candle making or fragrance blending? She took a candle making class at the community center in November. For Saturdays, Claire pulled up Jennifer's Instagram, scrolled through the posts, compared them to my documentation. She said, you have established prior use and brand identity. If she attempts to register a confusingly similar name or product line, you can file an opposition. Based on what I'm seeing, you have a strong case.
She told me to keep documenting.
Every post. Every caption where Jennifer implied family tradition or inheritance. Every order she took without a permit. The flat fee for a trademark opposition filing was $1,400. I drove home with the windows down even though it was 34 degrees. For the first time in 2 months, I felt something solid. Not hope exactly.
Certainty.
The kind that comes from having a folder, not a feeling. The week before the winter market, the coordinator, a woman named Deborah Fitch, called me. She said she wanted to give me a heads up. A second application for a handcrafted candle booth had been received. The product line had significant overlap with mine. She did not say Jennifer's name. Had I asked the applicant licensed? I asked. She paused. That is between the applicant and the county. That I knew what that pause meant. Jennifer had applied to the same market.
Someone had told her about my booth.
3 months of silence, and suddenly my sister was setting up a table 40 feet from mine. Her Instagram had grown to 1,100 followers in 6 weeks, propelled by a boosted post Robert had paid for. Professional product photos. A website with an order form. A logo designed by an actual studio. Meanwhile, I had lost 2 wholesale accounts in January. One texted me, "I don't want to get in the middle of anything." I found out later my mother had told her version of Thanksgiving to 3 women at Calvary Baptist. Her version: Sarah abandoned the family during the holiday and has been trying to damage Jennifer's business out of jealousy. Not one word about the empty placemat. Not one word about Jake's comment. Not one word about what my 6-year-old's face looked like when he realized he had been left out on purpose. I opened a spreadsheet. I logged every lost order, every cancellation, every excuse. I did not know yet what shape the building would take, but I kept adding bricks. Winter Market. Saturday. 6:15 in the morning. Clover Ridge Town Square was lit with string lights along the pavilion roof and vendor trucks pulling in from Oak Street. I loaded my car the night before. 12 box candles in each of 4 sizes, the copper vessel lavender set, sample cards with scent strips, a white tablecloth, a chalkboard menu, business cards with a QR code for my Etsy shop. Ethan stayed home with Miriam's husband, Carl, who had volunteered without being asked. Maya came with me. She insisted. She wore her blue puffer coat and carried a small canvas bag with her colored pencils inside. My booth was slot 9. I set up the tablecloth first. Then the candles, arranged by scent family. Then the chalkboard. Then the sample strips. Miriam's flower stand was to my left. A honey vendor named Gerald had the booth on my right. Maya taped something to the front edge of the table. She had made it the night before. Callaway and Wick. Hand poured with love. Established 2023. She had drawn a small candle flame in the corner, orange and gold. Jennifer arrived at 6:50 with a van. Robert drove. He helped her unload. A vinyl banner, matching gold and cream packaging, a display rack with tiered shelves, then left without getting out a second time. He handed her something through the window. She walked to her booth without looking at me. I did not look at her either. BY9. Foot traffic was steady. I sold 11 candles in the first hour. People stopped, smelled the strips, asked questions. Is this the one I saw on that local blog? My daughter would love this. Do you do custom scents for weddings? At 9:40, a woman walked to Jennifer's booth, smelled the lavender cedar, walked to mine, smelled mine, and stopped. She looked back and forth between the 2 booths. She said, "These smell identical." I met her eyes. They should. It is my formulation. I developed it 2 years ago. She looked at Jennifer's banner. She looked at my chalkboard. She looked at the date on my business card, established March 2023. Then she bought the copper vessel set and walked away. At 10:15, my mother and father walked through the south entrance. My mother wore her church coat, charcoal wool with brass buttons. My father walked 2 steps behind her, the way he always had. They went directly to Jennifer's booth. My mother embraced her with the kind of hug that is meant to be seen. There is my girl. Look at this. Frank, look at what she has built. They stood at Jennifer's booth for 25 minutes. My mother handed out samples to passers-by. My father shook hands with men he recognized from church. They did not look at me once. My booth was 30 feet away. I might as well have been invisible. A woman I recognized from my mother's church, I had seen her at the Christmas potluck 2 years earlier, stopped at my table. She leaned in. Your mother is telling people Jennifer started this business first. Is that true? I reached into my tote bag. The one I had packed the night before with a folder I told myself was just in case. I set the folder on the table, flat and open. This is my state business registration. March 2023. These are 89 dated receipts. These are 34 Instagram posts over 20 months showing my original formulations and product names. I turned the page. This is my fragrance development notebook. Every scent dated and documented before Ashby and Flame existed. And this is the timeline. I had printed a single laminated sheet. Left column, Callaway and Wick. Established March 2023. Right column, Ashby and Flame. Established December 2025. 21 months of documented prior use. The woman read it top to bottom.
She looked up at me.
She looked at Jennifer's booth. She looked back at me. She said, Lord have mercy. And she bought 3 candles. She told the woman behind her in line. At 11:10, Jennifer walked toward my table. Gold apron, controlled expression, hands clasped. She stopped at the edge of my tablecloth. You need to stop telling people I copied you. This is embarrassing. I have not told anyone anything, Jennifer. I showed one person documentation.
Her voice tightened.
Those scents are based on things Mom taught both of us. Our mother does not make candles. She has never made candles. The last time she was in a kitchen for longer than 20 minutes was Thanksgiving, and she spent it handing out gifts to everyone except my children. Her face flushed from the collar up. She stepped closer. You have always been jealous of me. Ever since the divorce, you have been trying to make me look bad because your life didn't turn out the way.
She stopped.
Because she realized people were listening. Gerald from the honey booth had put down his jar. Miriam stood motionless behind her flower buckets. The woman from my mother's church was still at my table. 4 other customers had stopped walking. Jennifer's mouth worked. Nothing came. I did not raise my voice. I did not step forward. I picked up the laminated timeline from the table and held it level, facing outward, so anyone standing near could read it. I said, I did not come here to fight. I came here to sell candles. I have been doing that for 21 months. The documentation is public record. That is all. Jennifer stared at the timeline. Then she turned and walked back to her booth. My mother had been watching from 30 feet away. She pushed through the small group that had gathered. 15 people, maybe more, moving fast, her church coat open, her expression the one she uses when she believes she is about to restore order. What are you doing? You are making a scene in front of the whole town. I am not making a scene, Mom. I am standing at my booth. She stepped close. Close enough that I could smell her perfume, the same vanilla powder scent she had worn to every family dinner since I was a child. Her voice dropped.
Sarah.
Please. You are destroying this family over candles. I looked at her. No heat. No crack. You excluded my children from Thanksgiving gifts on purpose. I have the text messages where you planned it 2 weeks in advance. That is not a family disagreement. That is a decision. You made it. I made mine. Something moved across her face. A flicker. Not remorse, recognition. The look of someone who has just seen the size of what they built and does not know how to unmake it. She said, I just wanted you to need us again. And for half a second I saw her. Not the woman who had orchestrated the empty placemats and the gossip campaign and the Instagram comments. A 63-year-old woman who had confused control with love for so long she no longer knew the difference. Then she straightened, looked at the people watching, said, none of this would have happened if you had just come for Christmas, like I asked. And just like that, the moment was over. She walked back toward Jennifer's booth. My father followed. Deborah Fitch, the market coordinator, had been standing 8 feet away with her clipboard. She stepped forward and addressed the space between all of us, looking at no one specifically. For the record, she said, I have reviewed the vendor licensing documentation. Callaway and Wick holds a valid state business registration and sales tax permit predating the competing application by 21 months. The County Food and Commerce Office will be in contact with all vendors regarding required permits for products sold at public markets. Translation: Jennifer was operating without a permit. Her booth might not be invited back. Jennifer began packing her vinyl banner. Robert arrived 12 minutes later. He looked at the half-packed booth. He looked at Jennifer. He looked at my documentation, which was still sitting visible on my table. He looked at Jennifer again. His face said something his mouth did not. He had not known. Not the full shape of it. Not the group chat. Not the 21 months of timeline. Not the Thanksgiving gift planning. He picked up a box of candles and carried it to the van without speaking. My mother and father left through the south entrance. At my table, a line had formed. Maya had been sitting behind the table the entire time on a folding chair, colored pencils in her lap. During the confrontation, she had been drawing. She held it up when I turned around. A new sign. Careful colored pencil lettering on a piece of cardstock. Callaway and Wick. We built this ourselves. I looked at my daughter, 9 years old, holding a sign she made while her grandmother told a crowd her mother was making a scene. Yeah, baby.
We did. May.
5 months after the winter market. Callaway and Wick had a permanent booth at the Clover Ridge Market now, every Saturday, slot 9. Miriam on my left. Gerald and his honey on my right. I sold out most weeks by 11:30. Revenue was up 240% from the January low. Not because of the confrontation. Because the candles were good and people kept coming back and bringing their friends. Claire called on a Thursday afternoon. The state trademark office had rejected Ashby and Flame's application for overlapping product descriptions based on my prior use filing. Jennifer could keep the name. She could not register the scent line or the copper vessel product category. My formulations were protected. I thanked Claire, paid her final invoice, $380 for the follow-up correspondence, and sat for a moment at my kitchen table looking at the windowsill where the lavender cedar candle had been burning since Thanksgiving. Jennifer's Instagram had gone quiet 3 weeks earlier. Last post, a photo of a different product, not candles. No captions about family recipes. No grandmother stories. Just silence. My mother had not reached out. No card, no call, no knock on the screen door. My father sent one message in April. It said, "I am sorry I did not stop it. I read it. I saved it. I did not delete it." I kept his number unblocked. Not because I expected change. Expectation is a debt you collect from yourself. I kept it open because one door should remain cracked in case the person on the other side ever decides to knock honestly. He had not earned that yet. I was not ready to say he never would. The first Sunday of December, I started a new tradition. I called it Callaway Thankful Sunday. Not in November. Not on the assigned day when I was expected to perform gratitude at someone else's table. In December, because we get to choose when we celebrate the things worth celebrating. Miriam and Carl came. Miriam brought jollof rice and fried plantains. Carl brought sparkling cider. Maya set the table with the good placemats she had picked out herself at the thrift store, burnt orange with a cream border. Ethan made name cards for everyone in his careful, enormous first-grade printing, each letter a slightly different size. At the end of the table, I placed 2 silver gift bags. One for Maya, one for Ethan. Inside each one, a hand-poured candle in a small copper vessel, a handwritten letter from me, and a book token for $25. Ethan picked his up with both hands. "Mama, is this for me? Every gift at this table is for you, baby. Always." He tore into it like it was the first gift he had ever opened. Because, in a way, it was. Maya opened hers quietly, read the letter first, folded it, and put it in her jacket pocket. The way she puts things she wants to keep. I lit the candle in the center of the table. Lavender and cedar. The same scent I had made for a woman who did not deserve it, and then reclaimed for myself. I used to think family was something you inherited. Something you kept showing up for regardless of whether it kept showing up for you. I do not believe that anymore. Family is the table you build when the one you were born to has no room for you. I built mine. It seats exactly the right people. If this story reminded you that you are allowed to stop performing for people who have never once shown up for you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Drop a comment.
Hit subscribe.
I will see you in the next one.